The 605 students.
Oh, I know. I hope so. But because we have integration, we love you even if you aren't.
Thank you.
So, Philip, you'll be after Leah. How do we put Leah on? Philip. Thanks, Barry. Hi, AJ.
Hey, how you doing?
We're good. Hi, Rebecca. Now, Rebecca, we need to have you wait. Okay, everyone's
Right.
getting on. We only want two on a time because it confuses John. Doesn't know who to talk to next. So don't take this personally, Leah. I'm just going to click you off.
Okay.
And same with you, Philip. We'll just wait, and then I'll tell you when to get on, okay? So see how they handled that rejection so well? So for the rest of the students, since Philip and Leah handled rejection so well, what character structure must they be strong in?
Adulthood.
Not exactly. It
Why
just
not?
depends. Huh?
I said, why not?
Um, it would have to be rejection from an authority figure. So when it's well, okay, I guess that would be for me. So I guess technically that's true. Usually rejection is out of separation, that I have to be liked by you. And so if someone doesn't like you and rejects you, it's separation. If an if you're okay that way, but then an authority figure rejects you, then it moves into adulthood because there's not that mutual, and you see the adult person having all this power and affirmation. So thanks, John O'Neill. John reminds me, John's in charge of grad admissions. And actually, before we start, yesterday, any of the profs that are on, jump in if there's questions. Students, sometimes you guys will have questions, and then I'll answer them, or some of your professors will, or the professors. You can comment, like as John says things. There may be additional things or books that you want to mention. Just go ahead and jump in, like Barry has been. So here we go. Hey
Hey,
there.
everybody. Look at all these smiling faces.
I know they're all ready to rock and roll, buddy.
Well, Scott, you told me that this class is the smartest class you've ever seen. Like, they're all Mensa students. So,
Well,
I mean, I'm
well,
expecting a lot. So,
yes. Well, one of the things that John we've been finding out since you mentioned narcissism, Barry Davis is teaching 605, and he thinks his students are a lot smarter than the other classes, and so we have some people that are reacting to that, and we're trying to help Barry with his narcissism. So,
well, is that narcissistic or is he just observant?
see, you always take the other person's side.
Well, I
So
believe in
you
innocent before
believe
guilty, Scott. You got to
you
be that
believe in the best in people. Okay, so we have them lined up, and you usually have a few words of introduction, and then I'll just keep putting them on the screen.
Yeah, we have an SOP, and we worked it over the years. And for those of you who aren't familiar with what we're doing here, we're kind of getting used to it. The SOP is no such thing as a bad question. And probably if you ask a question that you think is so basic, probably 30 other people will go, oh my gosh, I'm glad she or he asked that. So number two is say your name and where you're from, because the faculty and Scott and I are trying to create a global community, and just the awareness of you guys are all around the world. It's very cool to see all that. So where you are and where you're from. Thirdly, um, keep your questions kind of pithy and don't take a long time to ask your question, because there's a lot of people in line. So just kind of learn how to synthesize. Synthesizing is good. Fourthly, No double questions where you say, okay, tell me about culture and this aspect, and I tell them to go, okay, well, what about this aspect? Because there's people in line, you got to be considered. Getting back of the line, I have to get in the back of the line too. And then fifthly, what was the fifth one, Scott? It's so important. Oh, the book. We believe that you should be readers to be great leaders. And so the person that asks the question that has the most application and most value and most benefit to all the students gets the book. Any book that I wrote, just go to Amazon and say, I like this book that he wrote. Tell Scott about it. We'll have it shipped to me. I'll sign it with your name, something nice to get it to you. And it'll be our way of saying thank you for asking a question that had value to lots of people. So probably more broad-based questions will have a better chance to get the book. Now, if you go, I don't care about the book. I've got a kind of a technical or specific or deep dive question. Like I want to know how you can do a for-profit shoe store in New Zealand that specializes in left-handed people. Probably a great question. You're probably going to make $1 billion, but it probably won't win the book. So remember that. Otherwise, ready to go. Let's have at it.
Hi, Dr. Townsend. I'm Ryan Warren McGraw, and I'm in Irvine, California, just about 5 minutes away from Concordia. So I'm in 606 with Greg Macon, and we're reading the book Influencer, looking at vital behaviors. And my question is, if you were going to be leading be a new leader in an organization, what high leverage behaviors or those vital behaviors would you exhibit in order to set the tone and ensure your ability to be successful in that new work environment?
New leader. So you're trying to like create performance and culture engagement, but you haven't been on the scene very long, right?
Exactly. You just showed up.
Most of the leadership research kind of like, it's a little bit like the talk that we just did.
Yep.
Let me kind of give you the basic things. The first thing people want to see or experience is that the person connects. I mean, that's even before they think, does this person know what they're doing? If I had a choice to say, I'm competent and I got my MBA from wherever and I ran Google for a while, that would get my attention. But if I thought they were the absolute jerk and they couldn't relate to anybody, kind of like, Sheldon on Big Bang Theory is not a jerk, but he can't connect, right? I would go with I want to get to know you. You're important people to all the vision. You want to be a team with you. I would be warm, and I would do the connecting piece. And remember, that the warmth has to do with not only with like being friendly, but also being able to go to needs and negatives. The second thing, though, is I want to show a little bit of the competence. Everybody needs to know that there is turbines underneath the hood of that leader. That they know their stuff, and so you don't brag about it, but you just kind of show that you've got experience in this and you kind of, sometimes a leader will say something like, I looked through as I was prepping for the job, I looked through and I realized that we've got some performance issues over here, and there's some financial things here, our strategy could be doing better there. People go, oh, okay, they know what they're talking about. So I would show the confidence. And the third thing I would do is I would establish vision. Here's where we want to go. Everybody loves vision. Everybody lives for vision. You want to live with vision with your church, with your family, and with your job. And so here's where I see us going in 20 years. And so they realize he or she's just not a nice person. They want to drive this ship. And then finally, I would want to talk about accountability. I want to be accountable to you guys. I want you to be accountable to me. But a lot of times a leader will start off not talking about accountability because it sounds negative. But I found that the good leaders start off and say, and I've got goals, you've got goals, I've got ways to measure my performance, you've got them too. We're going to be executing people, and people that are into execution like myself will go, I just relaxed. They're not just nice people with vision and don't go anywhere. They really want to be accountable. You do that, and that's your best start.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. Good to see you.
Thanks.
AJ.
My name is AJ. I live in Wilson, North Carolina. And
AJ, are you like in your bed?
yes,
You're in Wilson, North Carolina, in your bed, and that's like a Sleepy Ease pillow behind you.
almost.
Is it comfy?
Very comfortable. I might fall asleep in the class.
If you fall asleep in class, I'm taking personal responsibility. Good to see you, man. And as everybody knows, AJ lives in my hometown, and I love Wilson. And Bill's Barbecue shut down.
I don't eat Bill's barbecue. It's vinegar based, so it's not my style. So I didn't know.
No, Bill's Barbecue. The chicken the chicken had tomato base, but the pork barbecue was just like Parker's. It was vinegar based. So you and I need to have some serious grieving about the loss of Bill's.
All right, next time you visit, let me know.
All right, what's your question, man?
So my question is how, well, let's start. I don't want to do a role play. I'm just looking for advice. How do I manage a boss that struggles with adulthood?
Give us an example.
See, you're leading me, man.
I'm not going to role play you. You're role play phobic.
So, for example, if somebody asks for air cover from other executives, they'd say yes.
Oh, air cover?
Yeah, so air cover as in just give me some time so I can finish what I need to finish. Don't pull me into meetings so I can finish what I need to finish. Take care of that so I can do this.
He's asking you to do that?
I'm asking him to do that.
You're saying, I need time to do this. Please give me some air cover from the other guy so I can get done this job, right?
Correct.
Got it?
He will say yes, but when his peers come and ask the question, his response is yes to them too, and then pulls me back in. So I guess my question is, I never get. He says yes to me and says he doesn't say no. That's the adulthood part that he struggles with.
Okay. And that does sound. Let me affirm something there, AJ. It does sound like you're thinking in terms of the 4 character traits between attachment, separation, integration, and an adulthood. This sounds like an adulthood issue where there's a fear of letting people down or fear of not liking them. It could also be a boundaries issue than separation, but either way we can deal with this. All right, here's your protocol. By the way, don't lie in bed and not take notes so get out of your bed for a second and get a pen. You got something to write on?
Okay, give me a second. Let me plug my computer in. It's about to die.
I can't believe you asked me a question and you're not going to write the answer down? AJ, that's not what people in Wilson, North Carolina live like. You're making us look bad.
I have a great memory. All right, I got it.
You're killing me. I asked him a question and I was asleep, so I don't remember his answer. All right.
Ask Professor Barry. He knows.
I'll ask Professor Barry. All right. Number 1 is be vulnerable. Okay. And don't go in attack mode and say, Sam, instead say, Sam, you know, those 3 people called me and I couldn't get my stuff done. I just got to tell you it was hard on me. I really want to get some stuff done and I kind of depended on you. I just feel bad about it. That's vulnerable. That's showing sort of the insides under the hood. Sometimes a guy will go, okay, I got it, I'll do better next time. If he doesn't, then you got to go to the next level, which is you go to impact, and impact on him. Remember, we talked about how managing upwards means you've got to show the impact on them. So you say, here's what the result of all this was, is that I want to make you more successful and let you meet your own goals, and I wasn't able to because I didn't get protected. So I feel frustrated because I can't help you be more successful. Now there's more pressure on you. Everybody's self-centered, so you're kind of appealing to his own interest, right? And then another one, if that doesn't work, is you go into the why. Help me understand why that is, why their pressure was kind of hard for you. And then, well, I don't like to let people down. Okay, but you know, if you're my boss, bosses have to let people down. And you know, would you like to read something about that and give them the boundaries book or something like that? But go into the why. A lot of times when you go into the why, they'll start thinking, you know, this is bad boss behavior, and they can accomplish what they need to accomplish and overcome their fears with some kind of training. So vulnerability, impact on them, and go to the why.
Thank you.
Okay, good question. Thank you. All right. And that looks like Rebecca. Hi, Rebecca.
Yes. How are you today?
I am
Rebecca.
good.
Good. Glad to hear that. I'm in frozen Kansas. It's really cold here.
So I hear.
Yeah. So John, I got a question about the relationship of trauma, especially when a person is triggered or is subject to emotional flooding to the character structure, or is there something that comes first? Is there a different tool that comes first?
A different what?
A different tool or a different framework that's first?
Okay, let me get a little bit of clarification back. On one hand, the question could be, how does trauma affect, does trauma negatively impact character structure, or is the question, is there a tool to help all this? Which way do you want to go with this? They're two important questions.
Kind of a clarification. I do think that trauma affects character structure and it can cause long-term impact to character structure. More so when the trauma is manifest in uncontrollable thoughts. So the person is not able to have, so it impacts the ability to function at various levels. So it kind of seems to me like that's almost a barrier to even getting into character work, but then it seems like they're related and I don't understand how. Can you clarify that for me, please?
So the question is, since trauma does cause uncontrollable thoughts as well as other things, perseveration, spiking anxiety, flashbacks, and that sort of thing, how in the world can people do character work if the trauma is existent? Do I get it?
I think that's pretty close to what I'm trying to get to, yes.
All right. You got to look at trauma in levels of mild, moderate, severe. With severe trauma, yeah, you just got to deal with the trauma. I mean, if they're not functioning, if they're on heavy doses of medication, if they can't work, if they can't keep a relationship, if they can't, do daily functions, it's nothing but trauma brain. You got to treat that trauma. Moderate, kind of half and half, and then mild. Most people can do pretty good character work with the trauma because it'll come up. And then there'll be some containment. Take 10 minutes to do the containment. Like, okay, you just got reminded of the death, or you got reminded of the abuse, or whatever. Let's work through that, and that takes a few minutes, and then you go back to the character work. So, number one, look at the 3 levels. But secondly, it's very important to treat trauma in terms of what specific character structures are being affected at the time that they're feeling what they're feeling. For example, so, you were talking to your boss, and your boss got mad and kind of blew up, right? And all of a sudden, you couldn't function. Well, you find out that if you look at the character structures, you couldn't go down there. You might be, well, it was the second one. It was separation, because I felt like I had no choices, no powers, and I was a little girl who was sort of like trapped. Okay, then we work on strengthening. Or it might be, I felt like I couldn't trust anybody. Here's my boss is supposed to be my advocate, and they're yelling at me. I can't trust anybody. Okay, that's attachment. Or it's like, I felt like I was the biggest idiot, and it's my fault that they were so mad, and they judged me, and I should be judged. Well, we know that's integration. Or it could be, I felt like I'll never make a good decision. Well, that's the 4th one. So you use the trauma to say, what area of character structure did it affect then? And you can get a lot of mileage out of that. Thanks, Rebecca. All righty, Leah.
Hello?
Hello, Leah.
Hi. How are you?
Good.
My first time asking a question. Yeah, so I've never heard of the term narcissism phobia.
Leah, let me bring you into our community. Where are you from in the world? Where are you right now?
Sorry, I live in Westminster, California, so really close by.
I love that place. Okay. Welcome. So glad you're here. So you've never heard narcissism phobia before?
No, and
you know why?
kind of as I was listening, because you made it up.
I think I made it up. Seriously, I mean, we could Google it. Scott, if you got time, Google it. But I think I made it up because I see it so much in leaders.
And just as I was listening, and thinking about it, I realized that, because I think I might suffer from this, And as I was thinking about it, it could be because I actually worked for a narcissist for a long time. And I don't know, perhaps that's maybe why I'm scared of being in the forefront or putting myself out there as even presenting myself as an expert in something. So for example, I'm in real estate, and of course in real estate the big thing is promoting yourself and making videos.
Promoting yourself all the time. Yep.
Yeah, and I really have a hard time with that. I mean, for example, for 8 years my brother who lives really close to me, didn't know that I sold houses. And it was kind of like
Hey, Leah, let me do one diagnostic. If your brother didn't know it for 8 years, it had to be before you met your boss.
No, I was with my boss before that. But yeah, it kind of felt like George on Seinfeld or someone, like
I
a
get
lot
that.
of people that don't know what I do. And I have this underlying fear of, if I present myself as an expert, and I'm even 1% wrong with what I'm presenting, then I feel embarrassed or ashamed about that.
Okay. Now, form that as a question.
How can I not have narcissism phobia?
Okay, that's a question.
How can I be a better leader?
Yeah, there are several fixes to all this. One is, and it's very powerful, is you've got to get people. You know how our whole institute thing is relational. How relationships change everything. You've got to get some safe people from your life team, maybe your cohorts, and say, I would like to shine my light, and I don't, because I think everybody's going to think I think I'm all that and then American. And here's 3 strengths that I know I have. I'm good with people, or I'm smart, or I execute well, I'm creative. And I really like those, but I don't like to talk about them. I'd like to know what you think about them. Now, you can say, well, I know what they'll say. They'll just be nice to me. But the truth is, according to neuroscience, you can say you know these truths, but until you see somebody and see their eyes and hear their voices, and you feel it coming through the ether, and they say, I'm so glad you said that. I wish you would do more. I feel like being your biggest cheerleader to see that. It changes everything inside. So number one, get people to give you feedback on the expressed strengths that you have. And I mean safe people, not the wrong kind of people. Secondly, is to do some risk-taking with your clients. You know, to like push out a little bit more. There's a lot of research on regret, longitudinal research on regret. They measure how people have regrets for the end of their life in their 80s and 90s. And it was the 2 categories. They regretted the things they did, and they regretted the things they did not ever do. 85% of the regrets were what they didn't do. 15% of regrets were what they did do. So, you know, I shouldn't have robbed that bank. But 85% of the things were, I didn't shine my light, I didn't bring my strengths out because I was afraid people would think poorly of me. And when you internalize that research and read it, you start to feel like I have an obligation to show my strengths. Those are 2 good tips for you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, Leah, thanks. Philip. Hey, man.
Here we go.
There we
How's
go.
that?
It's good.
All right. I'm Philip Pfeiffer. I am in Alpena, Michigan. And so, yeah, thanks. For Rebecca, we are much colder. Last night we could actually hear the lake making ice. So it was cold. So there you go. So beat that.
Great. I'm glad we got competitive misery now here, Phil. That was great.
Well, you know, it's you know, the good and the bad. So, my question is, in your presentation today, you were talking about attraction and frustration. Mm-hmm. I'm a pastor at a church, and we have a unique leadership structure where it's sort of diverse or diffuse. We have a layperson who is the ministry coordinator, who also serves as the vice chair of the congregation. And so how do you frustrate someone in that position when at most of the meetings they feel like they do most of the talking, they do most of the decision making? How do I frustrate someone that feels as though they're sort of the center of the decision-making process?
Had a sidebar conversation, Philip?
Yes, he does.
No, have you, Philip, had a sidebar conversation with the layperson that's the vice chair?
No, I have not.
Where it starts, Matthew 18. So
Okay.
you have coffee with him and say, appreciate everything you've done for our ministry and our church and the vision. I've got to love partnering with you. And I always start with this. Since we work closely together, you're on the lay capacity and I'm on the passive capacity, we really need to have a lot of safety between us. So anytime I'm doing something that you think is not like on top point, I want you to feel free to talk about it. And then Jim goes, yeah, absolutely. I say, great. Let me know. By the way, I've got something that I want to talk about on my end too. And he goes, oh, what's that? Well, it seems to me that, and then you just go into it in a very vulnerable way. When I measure our meetings, it seems like it has more to do with your opinion, and I actually just kind of, how much time is like 80% of the time it's you talking. And I love what you're saying. You're a smart guy, but I really want more of a team approach. So can we be aware of that?
Okay. So
How's that?
I appreciate that. Yeah, it kind of goes to the book that we're reading, Crucial Conversations. Yeah.
Yeah, and with a guy like that, you're going to see what the depth of his character. He would go, oh gosh, my wife tells me the same thing. Thank you.
Okay.
Or he'll go, I can't believe that. Don't put your hands on God's anointed, which tells you you've got a different problem. But start off assuming the best and see what happens.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, Phil. And Jay Mack.
And Jay, this will need to turn on your mic, and this will be the last question. We'll save the rest for the third hour. So Jay, you can bring us home, man.
All right. Can you hear me? Okay.
Hear you great.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. I'm in Buena Vista, Colorado, and my question is also about frustration and attraction. And particularly, I lead a team of about 30 folks with direct reports. We check in regularly. And, I've always heard the rule 10-to-1 praise to criticism, right? And so
the latest research is more 5-to-1, actually.
That's great. I feel like I'm reining back the criticism and having to be come up with more recognition. And I guess my question is, can you speak more to how frustration builds following as a leader?
Because people don't respect somebody that just blows smoke all the time.
Okay, I get that,
like,
but
let me affirm this in you. Let me affirm this, and boy, you're doing great. And nobody ever says, I want you to try this differently, because people need structure and they need somebody to focus on.
sure. Does it ever? I guess where do you run the risk of people feeling like you're just always bringing a criticism? Like if I'm doing weekly check-ins with my direct reports.
Are you obeying the 5-to-1 ratio at the time?
Well, that's a good point. Yeah.
Here's the way I look at it. You can't do it all at one time. You can't say, great teeth, great hair, great eyes, love your smile. Right. Oh, by the way, you suck in your job.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. It's really artificial. But over like a week's time, I believe you got to keep that ratio. And so you're salt and peppering all the good stuff, whether it's big good stuff or little good stuff. People just like you to know that you notice good stuff. And if you put it, and so if you've been obeying the 5-to-1, then a normal person will go, gosh, Jay believes in me so much, and oh, he just told me I'm late all the time, and that's a problem. Well, it's okay. I mean, because he told me that. So just keep the ratio. The crazy ones won't like it, but you don't want crazy ones to run your business. Okay?
Right. Great. Thank you.
All right, buddy. Hey, great hair, by the way. So.
Thank you. It's real.
All right. So, Scotty?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So we got a couple of minutes to take a quick break, or is Dr. Joshi here?
Yes. No,
Well,
you got 10
it's 2 different
minutes.
questions. 10? Okay. And is it Josh or Josh and Christy?
Josh and Christy.
Oh, they're both
Yeah.
here. I love both of them.
We are here. Can you hear us?
Oh,
Oh, yes.
Josh.
There we
Christy,
go.
you there?
Doc-
Hi.
Well,
Yes.
Josh, I'm sorry, but Christy's a lot better looking than you are, so you just really can't be here.
It's very true. I will let her do the talking, and I will go relax.
That sounds.
No, we need both of you. Hey, Barbie says hi, and she remembers that night in Nashville where you and me and Christy and her went out and saw that great band. Who did we see? The Gatling Brothers or somebody?
Oh yeah, and Rascal Flatts was there. That was
Yeah,
fun.
we saw Rascal Flatts. It was one of our favorite memories of being with Josh and Christy. So she says she loves you, and we got to see you guys again.
We love her. Tell her we miss her.
I will. All right. So Scott, like 7-minute break.
So you take a break. Yeah, you take a break. We'll get them on the screen and I'll entertain them. So
Guys,
that's a scary
you have a treat.
Yeah,
These two. They're wonderful, and I'll introduce them when I get back.
Okay. Josh and Christy, you know how to enable your video so that we can get you on. It's right at the top. You'll see the little camera right next to the microphone and next to the little guy with the hand.